Hello one, hello all. This is 2 Athamar 7 about to begin what is going to be the last video that I record, not just on the Orihime path, but in the whole game, A Sky Full of Stars. I've really enjoyed playing through this whole game again, and I'm hoping that you can stick with me in the next hour and a half here or so of Game That Remains to get through this final bit of the story and to see my commentary and then to call this one a day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We were up early eating breakfast in the cafeteria. That's Maiku Academy for you. This place is a big step up from those cheap hotels. I expressed this opinion as I attacked a freshly made omelet with my chopsticks. Only a pro could have made it this perfectly running on the inside. Takeichi did sound a little too emotional, but the food really was great. Orihime appeared holding a tray. Stuffing the rest of the bread roll into his mouth, Takeichi left in a hurry. Taki wouldn't die that easily. And that was the end of that. Yes, there's an open space not too far from this building, apparently. We were well into the mountains, so there was not too many open spaces around. It didn't seem like a good place to come for stargazing, but there was one good spot out beyond the forest. Sorry, I thought I did. She was throwing a tantrum, clearly. It was cute, but I decided to nip this one in the bud. There, you haven't been left out. I patted her on the head, which finally improved Orihime's mood. Kuruna's eyes were still wide open in surprise. It was still early in the morning, but it was time to get to work. I'll be giving instructions for setting up tents, so I could use a few more people. With Hanukkah in the lead, we left the hotel building. There were a few guys on either side of her to provide support. Next to me, Orihime suddenly spoke. Were you worried? Orihime really trusted Hanukkah. If there were any gasps, Orihime would have stepped in without any hesitation, but she didn't find any. Let's go too. There were about 20 of us walking single file as we disappeared into the forest. Holding onto our equipment, we kept moving forward. The snow crunched beneath our feet. The snow felt hard under the soles of our shoes. It definitely wasn't fresh snow. Some time had passed since we started walking along this narrow forest path. But when we checked our watches, we realized it had only been 5 minutes.
まだ5分ですの?
Another 10 minutes and we'll be there. Keep it up! We pressed on despite the unfamiliar snow, encouraging one another as we went. It was even harder because we were carrying stuff. No one said anything, we just kept walking toward our destination.
着きましたわ.
Beyond the forest, we found a large empty space in front of us. We began setting up the tents as soon as we arrived. We would be able to take a break once that was done. There were many things we had to accomplish while it was still light out. Everyone got to work on what needed to be done. Guess that's all of it. We had removed the snow from the ground and pitched the tents. Meanwhile, the girls had helped set up the equipment. The telescopes were all ready.
アキトくん、コーヒーどうぞ.
Oh, thanks, Saya. Done with their tasks, the girls were preparing hot drinks for everyone. Further away, Noriko was also walking around handing out paper cups.
お疲れ様. テント立てるの大変だったでしょ?
I didn't think it would be, but yeah, it was kind of tough. These conditions were not what I had been expecting, not by a long shot. Trying to break the frozen snow with a shovel was hard labor enough. And then there was the cold. Everyone was suffering from an icy chill that went straight through your coat.
でも頑張ってくれたおかげでみんなが温まれるよ.
Those who couldn't stand the cold anymore were taking turns in the tents. Further off, someone was even making instant noodles with a pot and a portable stove. Are you okay, Saya?
私は平気だよ. だって三日月村の子だもん.
That's true. You're tougher than all these city kids.
本当にね.
The old Mikaseki village is a lot colder than the streets of Hoshino, so she knew how to handle the cold.
仮にね、教えてもらったんだ. うちのお母さん、そういうのあんまり教えてくれなかったから.
Everyone was a teacher to Saya, Hikari, Mizukaro, even Takichi. I had been a transfer student at the same time as Saya, so I had to learn alongside her as well. Hikari taught me too.
後で光にお礼言わなきゃね.
Yeah, let's show her this amazing place. With my phone, I took a photo of our snow-covered landscape. Setting things up now for stargazing.
きっと光怒るよ.
Good, then she absolutely must join next time.
なるほど. じゃあ私も送らなきゃ.
Saya took a photo as well. Hers was from a different angle and it looked great.
光がいないと寂しいよ.
If only she had come. Saya and I both felt the same way. Before long, we received Hikari's replies.
私もさやがいなくて寂しいよ. さやもこっちにおいでよ. ここの星はこんなに綺麗だよ.
The photos she sent were of an incredible night sky.
すごい.
There were so many stars it was breathtaking. Against the dark cloudless night, the stars glowed ever more brightly and distinctly.
あっちの空はこんなに綺麗なんだね.
I hate to admit it, but it's a whole other level compared to what we have.
光はあっちに行って正解だったのかな.
It looked like she was having a good time there, but we were sad without having her around. I wondered if Hikari was thinking about us too. No one knows what the right choice is. We just have to find our own answers, that's all. There were times when I would get uneasy. There would be times when I didn't know what to do. I'd get frustrated that all I could do was clench my fists and bear it. With a little hesitation, Saya touched the back of my hand.
ごめんね. でも今だけだから.
Forgive me. Her lips mouthed the words. I think that Saya felt uneasy like that too. I'm sure that she didn't know what to do. If Hickory were here, I'm sure she would have been able to put us at ease. Since way back, Hickory had always been our shining light. But now,
空見く
there was Orihime. She was different from Hickory, but she was my guiding star now.
ん白鳥さんが呼んでるよ
Saya stepped away from me.
言ってあげて私はもう十分元気をもらったから平気だよ
Our hands had touched, just for a moment. I felt at ease knowing that it was enough to make Saya feel better. Got it, I'll be off.
いってらっしゃい
With a smile, Saya watched me go.
見てくださいこれ
As I walked over, Orihime had something she wanted to show me.
雪うさぎですわ
There was a small ball of snow, with token eyes and ears.
姫ちゃんと二人で作ったんだよどうですなかなか可愛いでしょ
Yeah, it really is cute. It was so unexpected, I just couldn't help smiling. I was still reeling from the impact of Hickory's impressive night sky photo, however.
こういうの意外と得意なんですの
Orihime gently patted her small snow bunny. That gesture saved me. I don't know why, but it really struck me as funny. Arigatou gozaimasu.
どうしたの突然
No, nothing at all. I'm just glad that you're here with me.
今はまだ空は晴れませんけれど必ずここで星を見ましょう約束ですよ
In Orihime's mind, there wasn't any chance that the event would end in a failure. Her smile gave me confidence and peace of mind. Okay, it's a promise. We'll watch the stars, just the two of us.
あそれコロナもコロナも分かっていますわコロナさんも一緒に
With Corona, there would be three of us. I had really wanted to watch the stars with just Orihime, though.
安心してちゃんと二人でも見ますから
The message got through. Her hand found mine. It was warm to the touch. I gripped it tight, as if to make sure that she was there.
機材の設定終わったよ
Naru from Nishai High was coordinating the whole setup process.
ご苦労様でした温かいものを飲んで休憩してくださいどうぞココアですサンキュー
Naru took the paper cup and breathed deeply. How did it go?
去年のあれと比べたら楽なもんだよプレアディス1号はなかなかのじゃじゃ馬でしたわね
A homemade Dobsonian telescope couldn't be handled like a regular one. You had to worry about distortions in the primary mirror, as well as constantly realign the secondary mirror to get proper images.
ま、機材の方は問題ないさあとはお天気次第だねですね
Hanaka's face grew dark. She was worried about the unexpected cloud cover, no doubt. Including today, we had 2 days left. Late tomorrow night, we'd have to pack up and start the journey home.
全く星を見られなかったらと思うとその時はまあ運が悪かったと思うしかないねそうですねこればかりはどうしようもありませんから釣りみたいなもんだよ釣れる日もあれば坊主の日だってあるだからさ体調が気に病む必要はないようちらはみんな星が好きで集まってるんだですが
The distance made this different from any other observation event. People had spent time organizing and planning, and even though we'd saved on some things, the overall cost was not negligible.
吉岡あなたは会長なのでしょそんな顔していたら晴れるものも晴れませんわ先輩そうだよあんたが自信満々でいたらみんな大丈夫だって信じられるんだ白鳥さんもそうでしたよね天を信じずとも構いません吉岡ほのかという己を信じなさいそうすれば人も天もきっとあなたについてきてくれるわ
Hanukkah didn't move as she listened to Orihime. She took her time as if she were mentally chewing each and every word. When she next looked up, the confidence in her eyes made one think of Orihime.
これでいいでしょうか。いい顔してるよ。大丈夫。きっと夜には晴れますよ。
And if not, there's always tomorrow night.
それでもダメだった時にはまた改めて企画すればいいだけですわ。もうそれじゃ全然フォローになってませんよ。あら、そう？でもこんな合宿なら何度でも来たいって思わない？
Everyone present had to agree with Orihime on that point. It was an observation camp for stargazing, but that wasn't all. Having everyone sleep under the same roof and work toward the same goal, that was just as valuable as watching the stars.
そうですね。またみんなで来ましょう。今度はうちのほうき星さんも一緒に。そうね。彼女がいないとやはり物足りない気がしますし。
I'll send her photos, lots of them. Next time, she'll come running no matter what her plans are.
それは楽しみね。姫さんは卒業しても来るのかい？もちろんですわ。次からは OB、OG も参加させてもらいます。ほどほどにしてくださいね。企画する方は大変なんですから。大変なら幹事を代わってあげてもよくてよ。そうはいきません。
Everyone burst into laughter. It expanded like a wave of good cheer that would blast the snow clouds away. What do we do next?
各セクションを再確認。その後で望遠鏡にはカバーをかけて撤収とします。
Understood. For the observation camp, we had prepared telescope covers. When you set up a telescope and had to leave it, it was a good idea to put a cover over it to protect it from the rain and snow. You didn't need to do it if the weather was clear, but in a place like this where snow might fall, it was absolutely necessary.
スラミ君はテントやコンロの方をお願いします。
Got it.
私は何でもやりますわよ。スラミ君、先輩のお相手もお願いします。
Your wish is my command.
今の何？そういう扱いはないんじゃない？
All right, let's go. Give me a hand, okay?
姫さんがゲストなんだ。あんまり出しゃばるもんじゃないよ。ここは我々に任せて。さあ。やっぱり仲間外れなの？
I started checking on the tents while dragging Orihime behind me. In particular, I looked out for loose pegs or ropes. If the wind picked up at night, tents might fall over and there would be chaos.
ペグを打ち直してっと。
It does pay to be thorough.
任せてちょうだい。
With her assigned task, Orihime immediately sprang back to life. She really was the type of person who couldn't stay calm unless she had something to do. While keeping an eye on her, I packed all the portable gas stoves and tables and put them inside the tents. After checking on the food, insulating sheets, and other supplies, our task was complete. All that was left was to pray for good weather. After setting everything up, we got back to the hotel a little past noon.
疲れた。
Even Takeichi's considerable stamina had been drained by our prolonged outdoor battle with the snow.
昼食の用意はできてます。食事とお風呂、好きな方をどうぞ。
やっぱ風呂だな。
Strangely, both brother and sister shouted the same thing at the same time.
真似すんじゃね
真似なんかしてないもん。
Whatever, just get moving or you'll be late.
え。やっべ。
Takeichi rushed off to the baths.
お風呂は逃げないのに。うちのお兄ちゃんおバカだから。って天の川さや。
Why did she only just notice?
私と一緒にお風呂入る？やだ。姫ちゃんとかいい。
Corona ran away from Sai and hid behind Orihime.
なら私たち3人で参りましょう。
I'll take a bath too, I guess.
コロナちゃんはどうする？お風呂行く。コロナさんは我々に任せてください。
Arigato. After the bath and lunch, we were free for the rest of the afternoon. That didn't mean we could do whatever we wanted, though. We needed to sleep in order to stay up all night and watch the stars. I didn't think I could fall asleep at this hour, but I had used a lot of energy this morning, so I was pretty tired. The moment my body hit the bed, sleep came over me. But then I was awakened by a phone notification.
ご相談したいことがあります。食堂まで来てください。このことはくれぐれも内密に願います。移住スパイさん。
There was something she wanted to keep secret from Orihime, apparently. Rubbing my eyes sleepily, I headed for the cafeteria. When I entered the cafeteria, Hanukkah was devouring the television. It was the weather report. How's the weather looking?
解放に向かっているそうです。ただ、星見に耐えうる空になってくれるかどうか。
Worrying won't change anything, you know. Not that I can keep myself from worrying, though.
先輩のあの余裕っぷりが羨ましいです。
I don't mean to talk behind her back, but I think Orihime really puts on a front sometimes.
知ってます。知っているからこそ、余計に羨ましく見えるんです。
Orihime was a great leader, on a whole different level. She was someone Hanukkah could learn from, a real role model. Put in the same situation, surely there would be things that I would notice for the first time too, including the awesomeness of Orihime. Orihime's awesome, I really do think that.
全くです。ですから一度くらい、ギャフンと言わせなければなりません。そのために、あなたの力をお借りできますか？
Hanukkah was referring to an alternative itinerary, not the one for the observation camp. To prove that I was part of the group, she showed me a copy.
決行は今夜、夕食時に。
What about the preparations?
各員配置についてます。ここにいない人員は各自の部屋で作業中です。
Perfect.
彼女にはコロナさんをつけておきました。こちらに来ないよう見張りを頼んであります。
And what if she did?
さやさんにブロックを依頼してあります。
Of course, Saya would be good at that. So what I have to do
こ
is...
ちらです。ついてきてください。
I followed Hanukkah back to the kitchen. The number of ingredients I saw was way too extravagant for just a dinner. The kitchen staff were doing all they could to help prep.
見てください。これです。
This was a perfect fit to for the role I'd been given. Even after sunset, the weather didn't show any sign of improving. Without waiting for night to fall, we canceled the night's observation. But no one was surprised. Everyone had expected it, more or less. And just like that, a sense of excitement filled the air.
随分と人が集まっていますよね。
It was about 30 minutes before dinner. But at first glance, I'd say nearly everyone was there in the cafeteria. That's because there's nothing else to do.
お昼寝して電気が有り余っているのかしら。
I'm sure they are. How many people actually got some sleep, I wondered. I didn't, at least.
よしおくん。
Hanukkah appeared with a mic in her hand. She walked briskly to the center of the cafeteria and addressed the whole crowd.
皆さん、お集まりいただきありがとうございます。本日は残念ながら天候にも恵まれず、観測会は中止となってしまいました。その代わりといってはなんですが、ちょっとしたレクリエーションをしたいと思います。
Hanukkah's right hand shot up. At that signal, everyone stood up.
どういうことなの？
Just stay here, Orihime. Everyone except for Orihime started moving forward. They formed a circle around her.
白鳥織姫さん、お誕生日おめでとう。おめでとう。
The sound of party crackers going off filled the cafeteria. Orihime was stunned as a huge birthday cake was brought before her.
本日3月14日は我らが月の女神白鳥織姫さんの誕生日です。ということで ただいまより月の生誕祭として盛大にパーティーをしたいと思います。それでは皆さん、改めてもう一度お誕生日おめでとうございます。
Loud applause followed. Orihime finally seemed to process the situation.
皆さん、どうもありがとう。さすがに驚いたわ。白鳥さんがいなければ、我々むつら星の会がこうして再び集うこともありませんでした。彼女の情熱と努力があって、今ここに我々がいます。そのことに心より感謝を。そして今日という日をお祝いしたいと思います。
The Six Stars Club existed today because of Orihime. Everyone here knew that, more clearly than anyone. The 4 months since the Six Stars Club reformed had been difficult, but everyone had had a really fun time.
それではまず最初に白鳥さんと交際中の空見明人君からプレゼントの贈呈です。
As my name was called out, I moved in front of Orihime. You wouldn't tell me when your birthday was, so I talked to everyone and planned a surprise party.
あなたの仕業だったの？
Nah, I was one of many collaborators, but it's only because I thought it would be more fun this way. And this is my birthday present to you. At my signal, the lights went out. At the same time, everyone lit their candle. Happy birthday, Orihime. May you always be bright and beautiful star in the night sky. There had been a blank space in the middle of the cake. That's where I placed a special item. Yep, a candy star. It's White Day too, isn't it? The pale, translucent candy star shone gently with the borrowed light from the candles.
ありがとう。とっても素敵だわ。でもホワイトデーとセットなの？それはちょっと残念ね。
No, there's more. I'll give you the non-edible gift later.
そう？ならいいのだけれど。
Looking at the giant star, Orihime's lips slowly curled into a smile.
いいわね。こういうのも。たとえ作り物だとしても、星は星だわ。決して劣るものだわね。そこに思いが込められているのなら。
It's just like the planetarium.
優しい。
She once told me that whenever she feels uneasy, she'd get the urge to look up at the stars. But the sky wasn't going to be clear every night. As long as it gave off a gentle light, a man-made object could be as comforting as the stars.
ありがとう、アキト君。とても素敵なバースデープレゼントだったわ。
One by one, the others gave their presents to Orihime. Meanwhile, the tables were laid with food and drinks, and suddenly it felt a lot more like a party.
姫ちゃん、お誕生日おめでとう。ありがとう、コロナさん。
Corona's present was a stationary set. It had a cute design and was well balanced.
白鳥さん、私からはこれは。あら、星の砂ね。素敵だわ。
It was a small bottle of star sand. It wasn't really related to astronomy, but the sand did look like stars. I guess that kind of gift was popular with girls.
姫さん、私からのプレゼントはこれだよ。重いわね。開けてみていい？
Orihime removed the wrapping to find a sturdy camera inside.
一眼レフですわよね。いいの？
Even secondhand, it definitely wasn't cheap. The cost made Orihime a little hesitant.
いいんだ。使わなくなったカメラだから。
Naru picked up the camera and ran her fingers over it.
無事位置でもかなり古いやつだしさ。いいカメラでずっと大事にしてたんだけど、最近は使わなくなってて。ショップに売るくらいなら大切 な仲間に持っていてもらいたいんだ。ダメかな。ありがとうございます。このカメラはあなたの思いが詰まったものなのですね。そうだけど、あんまり言うなよ。照れるだろ。神野さんは私のこと大切な仲間だと言ってくれました。そのことが私は何よりも嬉しい。どうもありがとう。大切な仲間の贈り物ですもの。大事に使わせていただきますね。あ、うちの子をよろしく頼むよ。
I was really moved by the interaction between Naru and Orihime. So was the person next to me, even as she chewed on a piece of chicken. Takeichi was falling for Naru all over again, apparently. But I could see why. She was a really charming girl.
そういえば、吉岡がまだね。吉岡、あなたのプレゼントはありませんの？このパーティーが私からのプレゼントです。と言いたいところですが、それだと納得してもらえませんよね。なので、私からはこれを差し上げます。
Hanuka held out a thin card.
むつら星の会の会員証です。名誉会員第1号として登録させていただきました。
The card was full of handmade charm. No one else had one, so Orihime's was extra special.
やはりあなたは私が何を好むのか一番理解しているようね。もちろんです。私はあなたの思いを受け継いだたった一人の後輩なんですから。ありがとう、吉岡。いい後輩を持って私は幸せですよ。
In response to Orihime's words, Hanuka bowed once and walked off. It may have looked like she was being cold, but I knew better. I saw her blush as she walked away. Still buzzing from the party, we went outside the building. Oh, it's cold.
こっちに来て。
Orihime and I did our best to keep each other warm.
あ、いいな。ではコロナさんも。はい。あ、姫ちゃんの手あったかい。いいな。
Sai, come here.
いいの？
It's okay for today. Amid that atmosphere, everyone started holding hands.
なるえちゃん、いいかな？
いいよ。ほら。
やった
あんま興奮しないの。女の子の手はもっと優しく握るもんだよ。
すいません。
Takeichi and Naru looked like they were doing pretty well. I wasn't sure if love was in the cards, but that was all up to how much effort Takeichi was willing to make.
このまま観測地まで行けないでしょうか。
Noriko was holding Hanuka's hand.
時間も遅いですし、この曇り空です。しっかりした照明なしでは厳しいですね。手をつないでてもダメなの？今日は諦めてください。
You could feel the disappointment in the air. If only the clouds weren't there. If only the skies were completely covered in stars. Stars, show yourselves! I shouted at the overcast sky.
雲、あっち行けですわ。
Orihime shouted at the sky too.
晴れろ晴れろ晴れちゃえ。お願いします。明日はいいお天気になってください。星を見せてください。お願いします。
One by one, we hurled our wishes at the overcast sky. Joining hands, we all felt the same way. Stars, show yourselves.
出てください。ですわ。
In the chill of the night on that snowy mountain, we kept shouting at the sky. Would our wishes be heard, I wondered. Of course they would. We would make them come true. And before we realized it, all our pent-up anxiety was gone. After that, we restarted the party to warm up our freezing bodies, with warm food and drink and chatting with our friends. It started out as Orihime's birthday party, but along the way it just became a regular party. As the hour grew late, people said their goodbyes and left. Orihime stayed right until the very end, as if she wanted to enjoy it forever.
なるえちゃん、悪いんだけど、うちの妹のことを頼めるかな。
別にいいけど。
こいつは俺が運ぶから、一緒に来てくれ。
わかった。それじゃ姫さん、うちらはこれで。
じゃあな、アキト。
Takichi winked at me as they left the cafeteria.
先輩、こちらの片付けは我々がやっておきますので。そろそろお開きにしましょう。
Compared to the boys, the girls had a bit more energy left, enough to start clearing the remains of the party.
ここで手伝いを名乗り出るのはヤポというやつなのかしらね。
Yeah, I think so. We couldn't make the main guest clean up after her own party, after all. At this point, I was willing to leave the rest in Hanaka's hands. Let's head off too, then.
そうね。では皆さん、お先に失礼します。本日は素晴らしいパーティーをありがとうございました。
Orihime bowed to all the people left in the cafeteria, and we headed out.
さすがに疲れたわね。
Orihime sighed as she entered my room. Then she sat down on the bed, which was unusually direct of her. It's been a long night. Using the electric kettle, I made a cup of tea for her.
ありがとう。温まりますわ。
It was green tea from a cheap tea bag, unfit for Orihime's lips, but she seemed happy to have a warm drink regardless. I didn't realize how late it was. According to the clock, it was a few minutes before midnight.
あら、日付が変わってしまうわ。その前に、私、まだあなたからいただいていないのだけれど。
Orihime held out both hands expectantly. Of course I haven't forgotten your birthday present, separate from your White Day present.
一体何を用意してくれたのかしら。あの飴でできた星よりも素敵なのよね。
Such expectations are going to be hard to live up to, but... I took out a wrapped birthday present. Once again, happy birthday, Orihime.
開けてみても。
Go ahead. Orihime carefully unwrapped the present.
これは。
A ring. Just a normal one, though. I had bought it at Harbor Town without telling her. For that truly important someone, I figured it was better to give something sincere rather than contrived. And that's why I chose this.
サイズはどうしたの？よくわかったわね。
Oh, I asked Hanukkah to investigate.
なるほどね。吉岡ならお母様とも連絡が取れるでしょうし。
Orihime was convinced. At first, I thought of secretly measuring her finger with a string, but I'm glad I didn't. We were lucky that you didn't notice. That was my biggest worry, actually.
大丈夫よ。たとえ気づいたとしても気づかないふりをしてあげたわ。だってあなたからの大切なプレゼントですもの。そこに水を差すわけにはいきませんわ。それよりもこれはどうするべきかしら。
Orihime held out her right hand.
左手はまだ早いですから。今はこちらに。
I took her right hand and placed the ring on the fourth finger.
少しくすぐったいですわね。でもすごくドキドキして。
There, it's done. Orihime stared, entranced at the ring on her finger. I guess rings were special to girls after all. I was lucky to have been able to give her something so special. Ah, the time, it's...
24時を過ぎてしまったわね。24時を過ぎたらシンデレラの魔法は解けてしまうのかしら。
Orihime touched her ring as she said that. Yes, it did for Cinderella, but you're the moon goddess, Orihime.
今日の月の出は23時過ぎだったはずよね。
So your time begins now. Holding Orihime's hand in one hand, I touched her with the other.
これ誕生日プレゼント？
Nope. It's a new day, remember? So this is something for me. Orihime. I pressed my lips to hers gently. Quietly, we were all waiting for time to pass. Some of us slept in preparation for tonight. Some went around taking pictures outside. Others chatted with friends. And there were those who couldn't stop themselves from checking on the observation site. It looked like some snow had fallen earlier that morning. The soft new snow lay on the top of the packed snow. The thick snow clouds didn't seem to be clearing at all. Time passed quietly.
吉岡、分かっています。みんなに指示を与えないと。分かっています。限界まで観測の時間が取れるように、今のうちに帰り支度を進めるよう伝達します。秋人君、今日の月の時間は？
After 11, it all depends on what happens before then. The stars were visible even with the moon out, but the moonlight made conditions less than ideal. It was barely a half moon, but its mere presence would affect our stargazing. Considering the return trip, the latest we can leave has to be 11. If we stopped stargazing at 11 and packed up, we'd leave by 1 in the morning. Any later, we'd miss the start of Monday's classes. Just as Hanukkah stood up to address everyone.
姫ちゃん、姫ちゃん、風が吹いてきたよ。風ですわ。やりましたわ。恵みの風ですわ。
Overhead, the clouds were racing. A cold wind seemed to be pushing the snow clouds aside. The thin layer of fresh snow was also being blown away.
吉岡、伝達内容の変更ですわ。はい、みんなに観測の準備を。
There was a sudden flurry of activity. Everyone came back to life and rushed to prepare. By nightfall, everyone was waiting to head out.
見て、あんなに星が。
There seemed to be an infinite number of stars twinkling in the sky.
あれだけ厚い雲がかかっていたのが嘘みたいね。
In a short time, the wind had blown the clouds away. Without a cloud left in the sky, the stars were on full display.
すごい。
Even Hanukkah expressed astonishment.
驚いてる暇はないわよ、吉岡。ここからが本番なのですから。それでは皆さん、準備はできたでしょうか。
Enthusiastic responses came from from various parts of the crowd. We were all brimming over with energy.
こちらに来てからずっと天候に恵まれず、星を見ることができませんでした。ですが見てください、この空を。我々の願いは届きました。時間はあまり多くありませんが、充実した星見の夜にしましょう。それでは出発。
The snow crunched beneath our feet. We walked through the forest, which looked totally different at night. With nothing more than red cellophane-covered flashlights, we made our way to the observation site. How long did we walk for, I wondered. After some time, we emerged from the forest, and our field of vision expanded all at once. We're here! At night, the snow-covered plain glowed with an illusory light. It was nothing other than starlight reflected.
それでは皆さん、まず最初に全員で同じ星を見ましょう。
But which star should that be? The topic had been discussed so many times at the meetings. Everyone had a different opinion, so in the end, no decision had been made.
我々はムツラ星の会です。ですからやはり最初はプレアデス星団でしょう。
and no one had any objections. Using the most advanced equipment there, Maiku Academy's Newtonian telescope, Hanukkah began locating the Pleiades cluster.
こちらの導入が終わるまではそれぞれの機材の準備を進めてください。
We started working individually. Saya,
何？
could you take care of my telescope? Saya understood what I meant.
わかった。アキト君も頑張ってね。
Ah, cool. I could trust Saya with my refracting telescope. Tonight, Saya was going to represent the Mikusuki Astronomy Club. Orihime, I'll help you too.
ありがとう。助かりますわ。
Maiku Academy had all the good equipment, but they didn't really have the requisite knowledge or skills. They had never held a stargazing event before, so they were especially short on observation know-how. First, you have to align the poles. In order to use the equatorial mount, I located the North Star.
北はあっちの方角ですから、あれが北極星よ。
Now, let's locate it with the finder. Using the small telescope attached to the side of the Newtonian, we found the North Star.
見つけましたわ。
Show me. Orihime let me confirm that she had located the North Star.
どうかしら。
Yep, that's the one. I made minor adjustments with the handle so that the North Star was right in the center of the crosshairs. Now, all you have to do is input the coordinates on the Pleiades cluster. Once polar alignment was done, the relative coordinates of any object would be known. With the coordinates, the advanced computerized equatorial mount would find the Pleiades cluster for you.
プレーディス星団の座標は赤径56.85度、赤24.117度です。
I entered the coordinates that Hanukkah had looked up earlier. And just like that, we were done locating the Pleiades.
アイピースの倍率はこれでいいかしら。
I think so. If it doesn't look right, we can try changing it. There were so many different ways to enjoy the view. Changing the eyepiece magnification alone would make any star look different. Let's start with you, Orihime.
私はみんなを呼んできますね。では、失礼して。
While looking through the eyepiece, Orihime adjusted the focus. Slowly, carefully, she turned the focusing knob until the image was perfectly clear.
来ましたわ。そう、これよ。私はこれを待っていたの。
Orihime didn't say anything else. I let her explore the stars as she wished. What stories were running through her head as she looked at the Pleiades cluster, I wondered. Was she thinking about the seven sisters trying to escape Orion's grasp?
反応しましたわ。次はあなたの番ですわよ。
Arigatou gozaimasu. I took Orohime's place at the telescope. Before my eyes was a dazzling array of stars. I tried looking for the seven sisters, but there were too many stars for me to pick them out. It wasn't called a cluster for nothing. I was overwhelmed by the sheer number of bright stars. Whew.
さすがにすごかったですわね。
Absolutely not.
このまま別の天体も見たいところですが。それでは困ります。まずは全員にプレアディス星団を見せてあげないと。分かっていますわ。
Orihime gave up her spot and we walked away from the Newtonian.
ハチト君、こっちこっち。うまくできないの。手伝って。
Saya was having some trouble locating a star, it seemed. My club's president was helping her too, but it wasn't as easy as using an equatorial mount. Can I take a look? What do you want to find?
M42 オリオン大星雲です。
あっちがプレアディス星団なら、こっちもすごいのを見せないと。
Saya was displaying a strange form of resistance.
やはり経営大での導入は難しいんですね。
You have to do more than just input coordinates, that's why. The difference between an equatorial mount and an Astomaya stand was that the former followed celestial objects for you, even as time passed. As long as it was a polar aligned, an equatorial mount's computerized calculations allowed you to keep track of your target. On the other hand, an Alta stand was completely analog, so it had to be adjusted manually. It was much harder than using an equatorial mount, but it embodied the basics of observational astronomy.
この辺りだと思うんですが。
Where are you? We were working together to find the Orion Nebula. The location was simple enough, below the belt of Orion.
これだけ空が綺麗なら肉眼でも確認できるのではないかしら。
You're right. I think I see something cloud-like there. Entrusting the finder to my club's president, I joined Orihime and looked up at the sky.
あれがそうなの？
Do you see the 3 stars in the vertical line? Some call them Orion's sword, and the one in the middle is the Orion Nebula.
なるほど。
Only the middle star looked cloud-like, and that was the Orion Nebula. And all of this can be seen with the naked eye.
本当だね。光が送ってくれたのもすごかったけど、こっちも全然負けてないよ。
The stars visible in Southeast Asia were beautiful, no doubt. But the stars visible here were in no way inferior.
写真撮って光に送りたいな。
Then you should talk to Maru later. She knows a lot about that.
そうしてみるね。
While we were talking, my club's president had managed to locate the Orion Nebula.
まずは天の川さんからどうぞ。ピントも合わせてありますので。
ありがとうございます。
What scene lied before Saya's eyes, I wondered. Her voice conveyed some idea of just how impressive it was.
マー君、すごいよ。すごいよ。
That's good.
次、白鳥さんどうぞ。では、失礼いたします。
Orihime took Saya's place at the telescope.
これが先ほど見たオリオン大星雲。
We saw it with the Pleiades 1, too. But it was such a grand sight.
ですけど、全然違うわ。やはり空が違うからかしら。
You can even see the trapezium cluster in the Orion Nebula now. The trapezium cluster was a quaternary star at the heart of the Orion Nebula. I had seen photos taken with the Hubble telescope, and I recalled being amazed at its scale and beauty, so different from the usual night sky.
これがトラペジウム？そう、これが。
Compared to words, even seeing it just once was far more powerful. All our numbers and information were ultimately no more than mere footnotes.
やはり来てよかった。
This piece of night sky here was unique. The sky over Hoshinanaka had its worth, of course, but sometimes it paid to have a change of scenery. Looking at all kinds of sky, it was bound to broaden your horizons. After that, we went around talking to each other and looking at the stars through a variety of equipment. A variety of stars had been located, and there were even repeats. But this was forgivable. As long as there was time, everyone should look at whatever they wanted. And it was a marvelous night sky that afforded us that luxury.
こうしていると楽に星が見られるわね。
Orihime was lying on an insulated sheet looking up at the sky. Lying down, you could stargaze continuously without getting your neck craned. Are you cold?
平気よ。風も収まっていますし。
The wind that had moved the clouds for us was no longer blowing. It was thanks to that wind, though, that we had such a clear night sky full of stars.
でも、ちょっとだけ。こうして手を握らせてちょうだい。
Our fingers intertwined. Like this, we would never be apart.
本当に素晴らしい夜だったわ。
This was past tense?
だって、もう十分すぎる
Right above us, the night sky was packed full of stars. As if sleeping in the embrace of the countless stars, we closed our eyes.
見えるかしら、星座たちが。
Hi, I can see them. Combining memory with the night sky, I drew them out of my mind. All those trips to the planetarium really helped boost my imagination.
オリオンやアルテミス、その他無数の神々たち。そんな神々に人はどんな思いを重ねたのかしら。
We opened our eyes slowly. The stars looked like they were falling. The story I'd created was erased in an instant.
以前、私はあなたに聞いたことがあったけれど、アキト君、あなたはどうして星を見るの？
Because I thought about them all the time. Because I made wishes upon them. Because I just had to know, peering day after day into my telescope, what was happening on the other side of the stars. I think about it sometimes, ever since the day you asked. Why do I look at the stars? I know how I got started, but I don't know the reason. But there's a simple explanation. I like them. Even when I stopped looking at them, I couldn't throw it all away. I looked at them because I liked them. It was as straightforward as that. Under this night sky, I felt sentiments like that could be excused.
好きだからですか。好きの形は人それぞれ。私自身、星のことを知るたびに変わっていったわ。その根底にあるものは、やはりあなたと同じ好きという気持ちにあると思うの。でも、きっと以前の私では気づかなかったのでしょうね。私は恋を知ったから。
Falling in love had made Orihime understand the meaning of liking something. Perhaps it was just a feeling, but it was undoubtedly correct.
恋を知って愛に気づいて、そして人は変わっていく。お母様が言っていたわ。女の子は恋をするべきよって。それがどういうことなのか、私はずっと理解できませんでした。でも今この星の下で、人が星を思うように、私はあなたに恋しています。
Orihime's confession was as clear as moonlight. Under the stars, her words made their way into my heart gently, quietly.
こうしていると本当に星が降ってくるみたい。
Aye, they do. I squeezed her hand. The infinite expanse of the universe made me feel anxious sometimes, but now I love you too, Orihime.
ありがとう。
I lay there for a while, feeling Orihime's warmth. I wanted to be wrapped up in that night sky.
見て。
A shooting star?
いいえ、違うわ。雪よ。
As if heralding the end of this dreamlike moment, stars started to fall. Snow started to fall. After a while, I couldn't distinguish the snowflakes from the stars.
もう少しだけこのままで。星と雪の共演なんてめったに見られないもの。
There was no sign of any snow clouds, but I knew that this miracle was only momentary. That's why I remained silent. Even without words, our minds were one. The snow felt cold against my cheek, and the warmth of Orihime's hand pulsed gently.
アキト君。
はい。
私を連れてきてくれてありがとう。やはりあの時感じた運命は間違っていなかったわ。あなたは私にとって導きの星でした。そしてこれからもずっとあなたと私が互いの運命でありますように。
The stars fell, and the snow fell too that night. They overlapped, but they would never become one. While trying to outshine the other, they gently rain down on us. It's okay. As long as we're together, we'll be okay.
そうね。
That miraculous night ended just as it had begun, in silence. What Orihime and I had said to each other seemed like a dream. But I would never forget those words. Those words from that special night, a night with just the two of us. The seasons changed, and spring was here. After graduating, Orihime no longer be found in the astronomy club room at Maiku Academy. Somebody needs to work on that English there, but I was now a second year at Hoshino Daiichi. Our astronomy club was still unpopular, but thanks to the planetarium event, the other school's clubs had new members apparently. Even at Hoshino Daiichi, a somewhat strange girl knocked on the door of the astronomy club. Holding her phone in one hand, she had a serious look on her face. I didn't know how to describe it exactly, but she seemed complicated.
この度、非天文部におきまして、新入部員を迎えたと聞き及びました。つきましては、ぜひともご紹介いただきたく筆を取らせていただいた次第です。ご多忙の中、誠に恐れ入りますが、何卒よろしくお願い申し上げます。
For phone text, her style was far too stuffy. That usually meant that something was up. From experience, I could say that with absolute certainty. Well, what's the meaning of this?
少々の通りですわ。
I confronted her as she relaxed under the kotatsu, but she dodged the question. Couldn't you have just asked me in person?
言っても、私の望みを叶えてくれないくせに。
Of course. I can't let an alumna gawk at the new members. What if they get scared and leave?
私、怖い？
In a sense, yes.
吉岡にも言われたわ。重すぎて怖いって。
From what I heard, Orihime would ask to meet each new member as soon as they signed up. However you looked at it, she was a bothersome ex-member. You get to meet Corona, isn't that enough?
メローペはすでにお友達ですわ。
Corona had entered Maiku Academy and was no longer called Merope, but Orihime still used her old name sometimes. Please stop this.
吉岡ってひどいのよ。こっそり作っておいた合鍵を没収するんだもの。
You went that far, did you? She had said that she wouldn't show up in the room after graduating, but as usual, you had to keep your guard up with Orihime.
みんなの動向が気になってたまらないお年頃なのよ。
She said this even though she should already know about the club's activities, from not only me, but Hanukkah and even Corona too. More importantly, how are you doing?
私そうね。ひとまず演劇部というものに入ってみたわ。お母様のようには無理かもしれませんけれど、やはり演技の勉強はしておくべきかと思いまして。演劇というものもなかなか興味深いものね。日々楽しく過ごしておりますわ。
Orihime's new life was completely different. Of course, she hadn't abandoned astronomy, but was somehow straddling two clubs. Oh, and I heard from Hanukkah. Why didn't you tell me about the modeling job? I didn't know how it happened, but Orihime was working as a part-time model.
最初はそんなつもりなかったのよ。でも演劇部の先輩がどうしてもって。
And you couldn't refuse, huh?
ごめんなさい。怒っていますか？
No, I'm not upset. I was just being sulky. My Orihime was on the way to becoming everyone's Orihime. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't think it would happen this soon. But the world couldn't ignore Orihime's beauty. The work she did as a stand-in model got great reviews, so she was asked to do another job, and now here we were.
でも安心してください。グラビアの仕事はお断りしていますわ。人前で水着になるなんてとても耐えられませんもの。
I can't stand it either. It was good to see that her virtues remained the same. I felt relieved that she wasn't comfortable showing herself to others. Her mother had taken a considerable number of pin-up shots in swimsuits, though, so this was her own way of thinking. I know that. We were both busy with our new lives, but we actively made time to meet. It was always refreshing to meet up for a change of pace. I don't have to work, so I'm free. Stargazing, huh? All right. Orihime was even more active than before. It may have been a bit over the top, but she had found her dream and was heading straight for it. And now that she was an alumni of the Six Stars Club, she was eagerly reaching out to the other alumni, apparently. As usual, she only cared about the benefits. On the other hand, you always knew exactly how to motivate her. Even while in transit on the bus, Orihime kept sending out text messages at a dizzying pace. Then we can invite Take. Thanks to Orihime's efforts, Takeichi had finally been about to go out with Naru. He had been a little overexcited when he told me, but as long as he was happy, I was okay with it. We got off the bus in front of Maiku Academy. With obvious familiarity, Orihime headed straight for the astronomy's club room. She walked gracefully, of course. You never got the sense that she was in a hurry. It was enchanting to watch. They embraced like long-lost friends. Just as Orihime had once, Corona was now wearing the Maiku Academy uniform. You look good in that uniform, Corona. Corona's education seemed to be going well. Thanks to Hanaka's instruction, Corona was starting to speak properly. Hanaka patted Corona on the head. She seemed comfortable handling her now. Just when I thought she was going to sulk, Orihime suddenly switched gears and went in for the kill. Corona noticed Hanaka and I glaring at her from behind, and she fell silent. I have to say, that did sound a little pressuring. But then again, Hanemi's a fan of Saya. Hanemi worshipped Saya as the Albiaro princess and sometimes got into fights with Corona, who supported Orihime. If all that doesn't bother you, I could try inviting her. It was trivial to Orihime, apparently. If Saya came, Hanemi would gladly come too. While we chatted, Hanukkah had put everything in order. All we had to do was gather the equipment and put the telescope in the case, and we were good to go. Orihime grabbed the telescope and was about to run off. Hugging the telescope with one arm, Orihime held out the other to me. Hanukkah hurriedly gathered up the equipment and tried to keep up. Krona ran over to help Hanukkah. You haven't changed one bit. Don't be silly. I'm your boyfriend. Of course I like it. She wanted to see the stars, so she grabbed the telescope and ran. How many years had passed since that day? Orihime wasn't the only one who didn't change. I was the same too. Hanukkah, we'll head out first. Thanks for handling everything. I took her hand and followed her. She would always be my guiding star. But just like a binary star, I was also guiding her. When night fell, there'd be a large gathering of astronomy fans, surely. And that was because Orihime had called every single one of them. Just as she'd revived the Six Stars Club, she was now the center of a growing circle of people who loved the stars. But Orihime's dream didn't stop there. She wanted even more people to look at the beauty of the stars. It was the invitation to our galactic journey. I wanted to follow her wherever she went. I was sure that Orihime would take us to the far side of the Milky Way. There is our final achievement. And that, my dear friends, is the end of A Sky Full of Stars.
Well, Tootsie, my memory served me rightly.
You still liked Orihime about the best?
Indeedy I did.
Okay, so what was so good about it?
It was perfectly paced. I mean, really, it had not just one, but two science stories in it. In the first, Akito assists Orihime in setting up her very own show at the planetarium. In the second, we follow the Six Stars Club on a field trip to a snowy resort for a stargazing event away from the city lights. During and in between, we are treated to a really sweet love story.
Did anything stand out?
A good number of things, but two truly come to mind.
Okay, what was the first?
Well, instead of accepting Akito's confessions, as she intended to do, Orihime initially responds to Akito by kissing Akito on the cheek and then running away. The next day, she sits in her club's astronomy room wailing like a baby, wondering how to make up for her blunder. It gives you a rare view of this young woman, one who is always so composed that most people don't get to see her vulnerable side. Her junior, Hanukkah, clears it all up by inviting Akito over and forcing Orihime to respond to Akito's confession properly.
And the second?
Well, there's this real touching scene between Hanukkah and Orihime that occurs when Orihime graduates. Hanukkah doesn't want to accept it, and her anguish is truly heartbreaking. It's the lone, non-romantic scene in this game that brought me to tears. Like many of the confession scenes in this game, it was worth watching over and over.
Was there anything you didn't like?
Not really. The worst that you can say about Orihime's path is that the other paths do some things a little bit better. The tension, for example, is much better in Hickory's route. I can't think of a single annoying thing though on this one. Not one part where a character acted in some unusual or unnecessary fashion. Orihime's path is all good.
So that's it?
Yes, sir. After our little after our little summary here, I'm going to let the credits roll, and then we'll be able to put this one to rest. Now that I've recorded it, I'll probably never play through this game again. I'll just watch it on YouTube whenever I get sentimental, which I'm sure I will.
You enjoyed your replay then?
Thoroughly. It's not often that I play a story game enough to ever replay it. As such, I hope anyone who decided to join me by watching these videos enjoyed it as well.
Anything more to say then?
No, that really about covers it.
Then may I?
You may.
Tim Curry, I'd say you lit the building, but you were never in it. For www.nottimcurrystudios.com, this was 2 and Tootsie closing the book on Orihime's Path and A Sky Full of Stars. So long, Mina, and farewell.
No. No. No.